And here in studio, Rich Schoenstein. I was just writing up a note here. If anything happens to me, Rich Schoenstein. He, of course, is a litigator here in the New York area. Thanks, guys, for joining. So, Rich, this Jensen dude, I think he's probably run out of lives now. He's going to see the end of the trail here. Do you think he's going to get a parole option in the sentencing?
I would be shocked if he got anything less than life without parole. I mean, this is a premeditated and remeditated crime because he's poisoning her over time with antifreeze. So he has ample time to rethink what he's doing, to stop. He keeps doing it. I guess he smothers her at the end. It is the most premeditated a crime can get. And the prosecutor just did a very nice job there and said this is a murderer without a conscience. There's no fixing that, which would be the only reason to consider parole.
Yeah, and that one comment she made about the child saying, hey, I learned more about my mom during this trial. I mean, that is frightening because it happened so long ago. A great job with virtually nothing to work with here. It's very hard to skirt around the core facts in this case that led to the twice now convicted Mr. Jensen for the death of his wife. So, Rich Schoenstein is here, Jeffrey Wolf here. Rich, we figure she's just doing what she has to do. This is her job. There's not much more she can do. Do you think, in her heart of hearts, do you think she really believes there's a shot to get this guy some sort of parole?
I don't know. I agree with you, Michael. She's doing a good job. She's making the best argument she can, but the argument stinks. The argument is he's a swell guy except for the murdering. Yeah. The argument is he's a good father except he murdered his children's mother.
You can't look at his life in that little capsule of what was done. You got to look at the whole picture here.
He's cooperative with law enforcement except he's pled not guilty to a crime he committed and put the state through 2 trials. He's a great citizen. He has a job. Of course he has a job. He needs to make money. I mean, everybody needs to do that. That doesn't prove anything. So I don't think the defense has enough material to work with here. She's doing a really good job with what she has. But again, premeditated, remeditated murder of his wife. He's going to prison for life.
Scene. Quite the performance by Mr. Jensen there. It kind of aggravates you if you were just to drop in out of the blue and hear this man talking about his family, and you think this is a loving father, and I hope that he can stay together with his kids because it just sounds like he's heartbroken and his kids need him. Then you kind of talk about the whole murder thing. So let's talk about what this does to the process here. Jeffrey Wolf's here, Rich Schoenstein. This is obviously the defendant's opportunity to vent, do what he thinks he can do, should do to help himself just before sentence is pronounced. Rich, did he help himself?
No. Michael, did you hear him mention Julie?
Who?
Yeah. Did you hear him mention the wife? Not once.
Yeah.
Nothing about it. Not an ounce of remorse. Just this bogus story that his kids need him. You know what I think his kids need? To keep this guy away from them as long as possible. That's what I think the kids need. A lot of people in jail have parents and have children who would have liked to have them around. But you lose that opportunity when you commit a heinous, premeditated crime like this. And for him to give this 5-minute dissertation and not mention the victim or show an ounce of remorse, I think was a very bad look.
Yeah, and we hear obviously about Julie. She was the primary victim, but those kids are victims too. Those kids are messed up, and they're the ones that are going to have to go through a quote normal life with total abnormality hanging over their heads here. Time now to hear from the judge as he pronounces sentence in this case: life without parole or life with the possibility of parole after 20 years. Here we go.
But what about Julie? She has nothing today. She's dead. She's never going to see her children get married, have successful lives, be there for the holidays. He caused that. He's the one that put that in motion. He says, well, now my boys don't have 2 parents. Well, guess what? He's the one that murdered Julie to get the ball rolling. And then there's other avenues that people can do if they don't get along with people, and that was mentioned by the state. We're all human beings. Sometimes we just don't get along in a marriage and things don't work out, and other people do things that make us mad, and some people stay married and they're unhappy for the rest of their lives, or they work it out. And Mr. Jensen could have had that opportunity. He could have walked away. And the evidence showed that through the trial. She did not have a good life for a period of time that she was married to Mr. Jensen. The harassment, the antifreeze poisoning, the lack of calling a doctor when she was dying, it was a painful death, and it was all caused by Mr. Jensen. You know, I look at the pictures that I have in front of me. They're pictures of Mr. Jensen with his children, but I still remember Julie Jensen's picture that we had during a trial. She was a loving mother. She loved her children. Both sides agreed to that. And she will never get to see her children grow up because she was murdered by the defendant. So this was planned out for a long time. It was intentional. It was researched with a purpose for evil. He's not getting any parole eligibility. It's too serious of a crime to depreciate. It was too vengeful. I have to consider the need to protect the public from any further criminal activity based on all the factors I just put into the record. No parole, life imprisonment. That is a judgment of the court. He can do the rights of appeal in the back.
I don't know if that's a surprise I see on the face of Mark Jensen there, but not surprising to anybody here, no parole. Kind of interesting how the judge kind of threw that out there less than officially. Hey, let me ask you, Jeffrey, I know I've got to kick you loose, so let me ask you your thoughts on the way the judge handled this.
Well, I usually enjoy when a judge leaves the defendant alone when they know they're about to lock them up for the rest of their life. Basically, just get the sentence done. There's no reason to beat somebody up on the way down. I like humanity out of judges, and I think he struck a pretty even tone in that he was basically saying we want to focus on Julie and less on the defendant, Mark Jensen here. And I think that at the end of the day, you know, is there a sense of formality in a courtroom that when a judge puts down a sentence? Sure.
I mean, he has to do what he has to do, and I think he made himself clear without, as you say, getting too personal. Hey, I'm going to thank and excuse Jeffrey Wolf. We'll see you next time here, sir. Criminal defense attorney from Denver. Rich is sticking around. We'll be back to Law and Crime right after this.
I'm Brian Buckman.